thank you for doing this. I appreciate doing this. I know you are very busy because the campaign is starting and many things happening at the same time. But I want to start with something more personal, professional at the same time for you. This position in the President Biden and Vice President Harris campaign has different meanings for you. First of all, because your legacy from where you are come from, being Cesar Chavez' granddaughter, but also for your personal and professional achievements, and also for the meaning for the Latino community or population. Please tell us about these three levels of meanings.
Wow. Well, thank you so much for having me. It's great to be with you today, especially as part of La Opinión, growing up in California and in, Los Angeles. It was, for me, a hometown paper. And it was when I moved to DC that I realized just the significance and prominence that you all had with our community. And so just thank you so much for having me today. And for, bringing such critical issues to our community. I couldn't be more honored to lead this campaign for President Biden and Vice President Harris. One, as a daughter of California, and as you mentioned, coming out of the farm worker movement, for me, it really is a continuation of the work that my grandfather and, my parents have done throughout the years to really focus on improving the lives of people, of helping to create opportunities for so many throughout our community, for continuing to ensure that, we're really living up to the values that are dear to so many Latino families, but also that are true to our country. So I couldn't be more, honored to be able to lead this campaign. And to, as you mentioned, work firsthand with Vice President Harris and President Biden over the years. Their values are values that, I grew up with, values of faith, of family, of hard work, of making sure that, as, individuals, that we're doing our part to be able to give back and to deliver for our communities and to deliver for the American people. So for me, it really is a continuation of both my professional work, but also of that legacy of que sí se puede, yes, we can.
Yeah. So, well, President Biden campaign has already the endorsement from the National Farm Workers Association. How do you feel about that?
Oh, I was so proud. It really was one of while every endorsement is powerful for our campaign and for, the president and the vice president, this one was extremely personal to me. And I was able to actually be in the fields of California with Los Campesinos and just to talk to them directly about, why it was that they were supporting President Biden and Vice President Harris, in addition to the organization. And, it could not have been more full circle for me to be able to stand with farm workers right before, we saw Republicans on the debate stage, not too far from where the United Farm Workers endorsed us, the next day, demonizing our community, demonizing immigrants, taking the most extreme positions that they can, that are so disconnected with what our community cares about: affordable health care, affordable prescription drugs and lower insulin costs, creating small businesses. So many of those things are things we continue to fight for. And so it's why, I was so proud to have the UFW's endorsement and to do so right before, we saw such extremism coming from Republicans and just really anti-Latino sentiment.
Yeah. So let's go a little about the campaign on 2024. There are many states: Arizona, Nevada, Georgia, Pennsylvania, even Florida and Texas, and other states are very important in 2024. How is the campaign going to address for the Latino community there? What is the main focus on this population there?
Well, we know that Latinos support President Biden and Vice President Harris's agenda. And so we are really excited to make sure that we're getting out and communicating with them early. We've already invested a historic amount in paid advertising to reach out to the Latino community in exactly those states that you mentioned, and to make sure we're doing so in Spanish, in English, and in my new favorite ad, we did one which was Spanglish. That's really, I think, speaking to so many younger Latinos. We know young Latinos are one of the fastest growing segments of our voting bloc right now, and we know we need to continue to make sure they understand who the president and vice president are, who they're fighting for, and the important accomplishments that they've been able to deliver that are continuing to improve, our families, continuing to create new opportunities, continuing to invest in, Hispanic colleges and universities, and so much more.
Mm-hmm. So polls are showing, for example, that Latino voters are worried about the economy. You mentioned some topics about this: job security, immigration, and healthcare also. What are the topics that the campaign is going to highlight more, like to try to bring voters or to keep them if they're already convinced to vote for President Biden?
Yeah, well, the economy, as we know, is such an important issue for our community. And so a lot of the paid advertising that we're doing right now is actually speaking to those things that President Biden and Vice President Harris have delivered, like a historic unemployment rate with the Latino community, historic small business creation under this president and vice president. We've also created 14 million jobs under this administration. 4 million jobs of those 14 million jobs have gone to Latinos. So we are seeing such an incredible investment in our country, in our community, in really the hardworking, folks that we know have really been the backbone of our economy for so long and have really fueled our economic recovery coming out of this pandemic. And so those are the important, messages we're going to continue to deliver with our community. At the same time, we're going to also make sure they understand the choice that they have right now and in this election, a choice to continue to, support the president and vice president who are investing in them, or these outdated extremist, policies that we're continuing to see from, every single Republican candidate that, most recently was on the debate stage there in California.
Mm-hmm. There is a focus from Republicans talking about invasion, about immigration. There is their focus that they are raising, even the message that they are following. How you will, as a campaign, respond to this kind of campaign? Because finally, some Latino are getting this information. Some of them, of course, they will believe it. Some of them, a majority of them, of course, they reject this kind of characterization from Republicans about immigration.
Well, we know that the president, since day one of his administration, put forward a comprehensive and common sense immigration reform bill. And every day since, he has been putting forward solutions and ways that we can modernize our immigration system because it is so outdated. So he's going to continue to put forward solutions. At the same time, we have been dealing with Republicans in the House of Representatives and every single, again, Republican candidate that would rather play politics with people's lives, that continue to demonize and scapegoat immigrants in so many ways, that continue to spout rhetoric around, taking the most extreme positions in terms of what they want to do. And from my perspective, the Latino community will flat and outright reject this. They have before, and we saw that in 2020 when Latinos supported President Biden and Vice President Harris and their vision for the country and for immigration 2-1. We saw it again, most recently in the midterm elections in states like Pennsylvania and Arizona that are going to be so critical to our pathway to victory, where Latinos supported Democrats 3-1. And so we're going to continue to make sure Latinos know what's at stake. They understand the clear choice at hand. And again, they know who is championing the issues that they care most about, whether it's the economy, affordable health care, immigration, education, all of the things, gun safety. We know so many of these issues are so important to our community, and we're going to continue to make sure they know where the president and vice president stand.
Many things are happening at this moment in the world. We know this, we are having this problem in Ukraine, this problem happening in Israel. Do you think Latino voters are going to be concerned about these topics? It's going to be part of the conversation in the campaign focus on Latino communities?
I think that our Latino voters are extremely aware and very engaged in everything that is happening, both in their lives and in the world. And it's in these moments that we know it is so important to really lift up the fact that President Biden has the most experience when it comes to public service, when it comes to his steady leadership at a time where, there is a lot of challenges and a lot of turmoil and conflict, across the globe. And that's why it's so important that in these moments, we have the kind of character, the kind of leadership, the kind of empathy that only President Biden can really demonstrate in these moments, as opposed to what we see as the chaos and division coming from the Republican House, coming from Republican candidates, coming from Republicans really across the board. And that's not what we need right now. What we need more than anything is to come together as one United States of America in support and, in defense of our allies.
Mm-hmm. So how are you going to face misinformation during the electoral process, particularly because these campaigns are very focused on Latino populations? We saw that in the previous election, and it's something that actually organizations are very worried about this thing.
Yeah, for us, it's one, making sure that we are communicating with Latino voters early. And so we have, as I mentioned, gone up historically early with advertisements directly to the Latino community, and making sure that, we're not sort of doing the same ad campaigns that maybe previous campaigns have done, but really looking at, at this point in the cycle, not everybody's paying attention. Not everyone is tuning into, the nightly news channel. So we want to be able to meet our voters where they are. We're advertising on ESPN Deportes as an example, because we know that, there's a lot of eyeballs that are watching, soccer right now and football and what they, enjoy. We're on YouTube, we're, advertising in La Pulga, so many different ways that we can really reach our Latino voters directly to make sure that we're combating any of that mis and disinformation, to also make sure we're really defining who President Biden and Vice President are, as part of our way to make sure, that we get a chance to let the community know who it is they are, what they stand for, who they're fighting for, and not allow others to try to, to spout lies and to surgically target our communities in the ways that they have in the past.
Mm-hmm. How do you respond to some experts and organizations criticizing the Democratic Party to take for granted the Latino vote? They have this feeling. What do you think about that?
Well, I think that, we as a campaign are going to continue to build on the important efforts that we've seen from past campaigns, and make sure that, we're bringing even more to the table when it comes to outreach and connecting with our Latino voters, because we're not going to take anything for granted this cycle. There is too much at stake in this election, and it is too important. And the Latino vote is critical to our pathway to victory this cycle. In every single state that our pathway runs through, Latinos are a significant part of that voting block. And it's why, again, we've been out historically early. It's why we've brought on a Hispanic media director earlier in the cycle than has ever been done before. And I'm so proud of the work that, Maca Casado is able to bring to our team and her leadership, and helping to now get to build out a team and make sure that what we're building here at the headquarters of campaign is infused in every single battleground state that we're going to build organization in. And so you have to believe that that we are going to double down on past efforts and make sure we are aggressive in connecting with as many Latino voters as we are able to this election cycle.
Yeah, when is gonna be your first big event with Latino voters with President Biden? Do you have planned anything that we can know in advance, or to be there and enjoy? Well, I don't know. Well, tell us more or less when, or don't give it details. I know you are preparing everything, but so people know that you are thinking on them, and it is very important for the campaign. These voters are very important for that.
Yeah, no, definitely. You know, I don't want to get ahead of the schedule or get ahead of any announcements that we'll plan to make. But we know that it's important, you know, in a re-election campaign, it's important that the president has the opportunity to continue to lead the country and continue to serve as president, as we build our campaign and make sure that we're reaching out to voters and gearing up for next year, which will be, you know, the on year for our political cycle. And, you know, we're excited to make sure that we are going to reach out to all of our communities, you know, across the board with the president, the vice president, the first lady, who I know has a very deep connection and resonance with our community as well, as the second gentleman. And so we're excited to, you know, hit the campaign trail and be able to connect with our communities in all of our key states.
How do you feel and your team that I feel, well, this is my feeling, maybe I'm wrong, but I think I'm not, that for the first time in a presidential campaign, there are a lot of Latino like effort, and you are leading this campaign basically, and the team is very strong, and it has an important message. It's sending an important message about the importance of Latinos in the United States.
Definitely, it's historic, and you know, it's maybe not the most comfortable thing for me to talk about, but I am so proud of not just the team that, you know, we've built to date, but really the team that we're going to continue to build across the board. You know, Latinos are infused throughout the leadership of our campaign here in headquarters. They're going to be infused in the leadership in every single state that we're in. And we're going to use it as an opportunity to continue to build a pipeline of Latino talent that will infuse campaigns for generations to come. Because what we know right now is we have such a critical opportunity to make sure that we are rooting our work, the values of the Democratic Party, the values of President Biden and Vice President Harris, with a whole new generation of Latinos. And we're going to continue as a country, I believe, to reap the benefits of our Latino engagement this Latino cycle.
Perfect. Julie, thank you so much for doing this. We appreciate so much. And I hope so it's not the last time.
Definitely not. Thank you so much. It was wonderful to see you. And maybe next time I can do it in Los Angeles.